You would like that vein, you dried up vampire, you day-walking freak. You can tell he smells like Campbell's soup. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Soap Lore, the official gathering place for newbies, novices, and OG diehard fans of the golden age of primetime. I'm your host, Jeb, viewing and reviewing one of the funniest storylines of 1984. Whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell your kids to play outside or out of sight. Tell babe no questions, suggestions, or concerns for the next 25-35 minutes. Everyone else in earshot, cool, quiet, or kicked out because we are discussing our stories. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Soap Lore. Hello, gorgeous! Welcome back to another fun-filled edition of Soap Lore. Party place to be. All you newbies and novices, I hope you are ready for an adventure today. Now, I know it's been a little bit of time since our last episode, but I hope you had time to think about this. For me, it's homecoming season. I mean, there's something going on every single day of the week. And one of the things I did not realize is that homecoming, although it's celebrated throughout the U.S., for those of you who aren't in the U.S., homecoming usually happens in the fall in like the public school system and the private school system. And what it is an opportunity for the alumni to come back and watch a game. It's just like there's fanfare, there's homecoming queen, there's a parade, there's a whole thing. There's usually a lot of activities during the week. It's a very busy time. Lots of fun, though. I didn't realize that outside of Texas, people didn't do mums, which is just a whole. If you've never seen one, look up Texas mums. Now, the girls are wearing these big chest plates at this point in life. We didn't do that back in the day. Like mine, I'm a tall girl. I'm like 5'9". So mine definitely hit below my shin, but it was just long. We didn't really do the big heavy ones because back in my day, we used to have the pins to hold it up. Now they like hang it around your neck, which is a much better idea, but they're kind of loud and they're a little bit difficult. If you're from Texas, comment. You know what I'm saying. They're not exactly practical, but they are really pretty. And it's just a lot of fun. Anyway, I apologize for the delay. I have been trying to get these out, but something has come up every single day. Doesn't matter now because we're here together. And I feel so much better if I'm just being perfectly honest. Today, we are jumping back into We're jumping back into Dynasty. That's right. We're at the Mile High City. Y'all, the first 20 minutes of this show is worth its weight in gold. You can legit tap out after that if you so choose to do so, or you can just listen to me. So I know some of you are watching this in real time. Some of you are reliving it. Some of you are watching it for the first time. Baby, I had a time. I cackled. I checked out. I scratched my head. I didn't care. I cared a lot, but feels good to be back on Dynasty. One of you commented too that season 5 is where things really start to get good. And I'm excited because this is season 4, episode 10. It's the thing I love about soap operas, and it's the thing I kind of hate. The thing I love to hate is how quickly they move on from a storyline. During the daytime soaps, they drag it out for years. You can not watch Days of Our Lives for seriously 6 months and you're going to be fine. But on one of these, you can miss 2 episodes and be like, okay, now wait a minute. What happened? Why don't they live together? This is kind of one of those. So settle in, grab yourself something bubbly and bright. We're going to jump into some fan mail. Unfortunately, we have to do an RIP. This one I really don't want to do, but we have to do it. And then we're going to jump into our story. Season 4, episode 10, Dynasty, The Proposal. If Beverly Hills 90210 is the soap opera I chose for myself, the daytime soap opera I chose was Days of Our Lives. Oh my gosh. Sadly, today I found out, I think he passed away yesterday after a battle with cancer. Just heartbreaking. Drake Hogestyn, I hope I'm saying his last name right, also known as John Black, Marlena's husband, from Days of Our Lives, sadly passed away yesterday, just one day shy of his 71st birthday. Rest in peace. I believe he was on the show for 30 plus years. It's incredible. There's interest, there's a diehard fan base, and I was definitely one of those. I was It's just kind of funny because the more I think about it, it's like I definitely watched a lot of not Days of Our Lives, Young and the Restless back in the day, because Victor Newman was just, I think my aunt had a huge crush on him. I'm pretty sure she did. I'm trying to figure out why I saw so many episodes of those, but I believe it was one of two things. I was quiet enough to not really be disruptive, and I think she forgot I was there a lot of times. But also, if memory serves me correctly, Young and the Restless came on at about 11:30, right after The Price is Right, or 11 o'clock. So it was always about lunchtime. So it's like, okay, eat your lunch, be quiet. And you know what? I thought Nikki was cute when he actually showed up, so I didn't mind watching it, actually. But my friends and I, the girls who were kicked out, we were often outside when the other shows were on, we decided probably late junior high, maybe in high school over summer or something, we decided we were going to start watching Days because it was a good story and we loved it. Oh my gosh. I think, y'all, this is 30 plus years that he was on the show. So I think when I met John on the show, it's so confusing on daytime soap operas because people disappear for years and they come back. I believe he had something going on with Kristen and Marlena came back, or vice versa. He had something going on with Marlena and Kristen came back, but it always seemed to me like Marlena was his main squeeze and they just kind of reconnected. This was also the same time that Lisa Rinna was Billy and Hope showed up out of nowhere. I didn't know who Hope was, but apparently that was a really big deal. I found out later. And Hope and Bo were there, and I feel like Brady it was a whole thing. You know what I mean? I remember when Belle was a baby and then she sneezed and left the room, and when she came back, she was in high school. And they did that whole storyline where Chloe was this nerd who sang opera and everybody forgot how gorgeous she was until she took off her glasses. You know the trope. That was the 90s bread and butter, that take off your glasses and you're gorgeous trope. Anyway, sadly, he has passed on. I hate to hear this. One of my favorite storylines was when Kristen had that crazy country cousin. Remember Susan? And Susan was running amok all over Salem. She would show up pretending to be Kristen. She had like a spare pair of teeth that she kept at the ready so that she could... I don't remember what havoc she wreaked, but she definitely did so. Great show. Rest in peace, Mr. Drake Hogestyn. Just so sad. Moving to lighter topics, my goal with this show is to just bring a little joy to your day. And speaking of country cousins, I got a few very entertaining responses for my question several episodes back about what is the countryest thing you've ever seen. And Amanda says she was at her stepfather's niece's wedding. So I guess this would be like her cousin by marriage or step cousin. We were sitting around at the wedding and everything was turning out well. We noticed pretty quickly, though, that something was just a little bit off. The bride's cousins and older brother had shotguns and went off into the woods as the ceremony began. They decided to hunt, and she puts that in quotation. Oh my gosh. They decided to hunt for the reception meal, instead of spending money for a caterer. We quite literally had to hang out until they shot a few ducks so we could eat dinner. You lying. Girl, you are lying. I don't think I've ever heard anything quite as country as that. Corey G says, yes, an appliance on the back porch is standard. Yes, it is. And Lisa says, I have been in not one, but 14, count them, 14 camo-clad weddings. I've seen those, so I totally believe you. I've seen a lot of weddings. 14 is quite a bit, but I've seen a lot of weddings where the bride's dress is all camo or the bridesmaid, the dudes wear camo. That is par for the course. The long and short of this episode is relationships. It seems like the writers have decided, okay, we got to push some of these boring storylines out and we got to bring in some fresh meat, some fresh drama, which makes sense. You can't start the season out, especially on Dynasty, because they have, at least as far as I can remember, have ended with some sort of cliffhanger or some sort of bang, and then you got to pick up where you left off at the beginning. Middle of the season, or where we're at, probably the first third, okay, let's set up some dominoes so we can knock them down later. It feels like Jeff and Kirby were those dominoes. I never really thought they had the best chemistry, but I like her with him so much more than I like him chasing Fallon. I just think that's a really boring thing. Krystal and Blake are in this one, of course. As we know, Fallon is preparing to be set up by Peter, defibrillator, whatever his name is, who is broke, needs a little shmoney because he spends it all on booger sugar, I suppose. And a surprising entry from Adam. Adam is... We'll get into it. We'll get into that. I think I said the first 20 minutes is worth it. The first 15 is worth it. The rest you can kind of check in and out of. I want to go ahead and get the boring people out of the way. Krystal and Blake are quote unquote in love. He is wooing her by telling the story, telling the audience, giving the audience these really long soliloquies about how he woos Krystal and he decided to pick this piece of meat because she used to like this, that, and the third. Womp, wompty, womp. She's traveling with him. They're sleeping in the same bed. It doesn't take a whiz to figure they're going to get back together. Plus, Krystal don't have no job. Well, she didn't have a job until Blake gave her this PR job that should go to crazy. I didn't mean to call her crazy. To Tracy. I am waiting for Tracy to go crazy. Sadly, she doesn't do it on this episode, but Blake and Krystal are lovey-dovey. That's all I want to say. Blech. And I'm not being a hater, really. It's like, Blake is good looking. Krystal's beautiful, but they're just, I don't care about them. There's nothing, and I do mean nothing at all, interesting about them. But you know who is interesting? That Alexis. Alexis is running amok this episode. The whole Claudia and Steven thing keeps bubbling to the surface. I feel like that's about to collapse pretty soon. But let's find out where all the couples stand on the proposal. Thank you so much for sending that in. Check your show notes if you're listening on your iPad or your phone. Check the show notes. There is an option to text me. Text me whatever you want. And Amanda, by the way, I believe you, girl, but... Man, I don't know if I've told this story before, but at my cousin's wedding, this was kind of at the height of sort of the kente cloth thing. My cousin and her husband had already gotten married. They'd gone down to the justice of the peace or at the court and had a ceremony. She never wanted like a big wedding, so it wasn't a big deal. But his mother wanted to throw them something very special. So she said, go come to her house. And all of my family was excited because his family owns this restaurant. The restaurant's still in business. So we were like, okay, we were kind of fully expecting to maybe do like a recreation in the backyard and have these wonderful, meal. So we get there and we're sitting around for, I'm not even lying, like 3 hours just in her living room, just hanging out. My cousin is a sweetheart. Her husband was a sweetheart. They just, neither one of them, you could tell, really wanted it to happen, but they did. Tell me why his mom comes strolling out 3 hours later and she has on this full, like, Nigerian wedding garment. Everybody's like, what the hell? I was a kid and even I was like, let me reiterate something. The bride and groom, my cousin the bride, her husband the groom, they're legit in jeans and a t-shirt. They're like not dressed up at all. She has on like a nice shirt, not a jeans and a t-shirt, but she's like a nice shirt and jeans. He has like a button down and jeans. It was very much just supposed to be like a reception party. My family's not dressed up. The rest of his family's not dressed up. We're just kind of mingling. She comes out in a full night, like it was her wedding. It was so weird. And then all she did was make deviled eggs and bought black tortilla chips. We're like, what is this? Ooh, maybe that's a little bit country. Is it kind of country to throw a party just so you can? I don't think that's country. I think that is kind of an Alexis move. You just throw a party so that you can get dressed up and you don't even tell the bride and groom that it's like a thing. It was a total mess. Just like the relationship between Kirby and the denim doormat himself, good old Jeff Colby. Before we get too deep into them, I like to do the sort of throwaway scenes right off the bat. Not that I'm saying this is a throwaway, this is a build-up. As I said, this is the middle of the season. We got to eliminate these dumb storylines, and then we got to create some new ones. So Fallon is still with Peter the filibuster on the West Coast. He's showing her horses and tings, talking about how much he likes thoroughbreds, wink, wink. He and the manimal have this weird fixation on comparing women to horses. It is what it is. Like, Claudia is the stallion, in my opinion. Fallon definitely is not. And for Fallon to be such a playgirl, I am so disappointed with her taste in men. She always picks the squares. Peter defibrillator, whatever his name is, there's a B thrown in there. It's hard to say. Pete, from somewhere in Europe, doesn't blink. That makes me very nervous. He sits up straight and he doesn't blink. It's very odd. I'm assuming the only reason this scene or these two scenes happen is so that we will know that Peter is not just vaguely European. He seems to be the son of an Austrian baroness, and he said his father was Portuguese, and somehow or another he ends up in Brazil. And Fallon's like, no, why? Where would you go to Brazil? I'm like, it snows in Europe. It doesn't snow in Brazil. That's an easy choice if you just want to get away. Plus, rich people have options. He does what he wants to do. What he wants to do now is seduce her in bed, feed her oranges after the fact, and get the $6 million here with the quick. Claudia, the stallion, is having zero luck finding any quiet time for she and Steven. Steven is kept very busy by his mother's never-ending laundry list. She's on her way to Canada, so Steven has to go and attend this meeting. Claudia shows up and she's like, look, and I want you to go shopping with me. I need to look cute because I don't want your mom to read me for Phil. And he's like, so I don't know if he thinks her wardrobe sucks. I don't think it sucks, but he's like, my mom is best dressed. Claudia's like, yeah, she has won best dressed a few years in a row. Maybe I should listen. I, Jed, don't think that's a bad idea, because every time you see Alexis, a baby, she keeps a mink. She keeps a glove set, a turban. She's going to put that ish on. You should definitely side with her. But they just have a little brief moment where we, the audience, know that they are not spending time together. A little later on, Steven heads over to Alexis's house. She's not home because she's out handling business, which we'll get to here in a minute. Mark is there, drunk as a skunk, with his feet on her desk. Nobody respects other people's property this episode. Feet are all over desk. Steven comes in to get some paperwork, and Mark makes a comment about her being Alexis, being a piranha. Well, that gets him a stern talking to, and he's like, I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. It must be the brandy. It must be the whiskey. But what it does is it puts this seed inside of Steven's mind. He goes and he talks to Krystal, and he's like, no, listen, Krystal. The only reason I'm giving him a chance is because you vouched for him. He saved your life. He quote unquote saved my mother's life, but he hates her. I kind of think there's something more to this. She's like, no. I know Mark. He just gets drunk and he says stupid stuff. Don't even worry about him. So what are we going to do? We're going to worry about Mark. I'm going to keep my eye on Mark. He's also a really sucky choice. If I want someone to save my life, it's one thing to pull you from a building. There's no other person to fight there, but this kid has no survival skills. He's walking around drunk. Get up and walk back and forth in my penthouse. Please get your dirty feet off of my desk. Do something, Mark. Do something. While I'm watching Mark, someone is watching Alexis like a hawk, and it is none other than Dexter. Now, you can tell he's got it bad. This seems to be a genuine attraction to me, but he wants a side of business. So he shows up unannounced, and the writers are writing this episode. He opens the door, and it's really overly dramatic, and he's all standing there. She goes, are you waiting for me to take a picture? And he's like, I came by. You don't want to go into business with me. You don't want to let me take you to lunch. You won't do this. You won't do that. And she's like, you're doing well with my rejection. What do you want? Why are you here again? He informs her that he slipped past her male secretary when he wasn't looking. And he's like, dang, Alexis, you are so fine. You should come to my ranch in New Mexico. I can dig up some turquoise for you. And she cackles a little bit. She's like, sir, turquoise is a semi-precious stone. Tell me why my jaw hit the ground. I was like, dang, I don't know anything about jewelry. She doesn't want to be draped in turquoise. She doesn't do semi-anything. It's all the way. I am a precious stone, baby boy. You are once again underestimating me. About this time, her male secretary comes bursting in, and he leaves a little something on her desk. She reminds him, hey, baby boy, I know you're new to this, not true to this, but I'm going to need you to knock or announce yourself. Don't ever just walk into my office. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Colby. Won't happen again. And she's like, Dex, I have some business to attend to. I think you need to leave. And he's like, I'd love to leave, but I'm going to fix myself a little drinky poo, and then I'll leave. She's like, cool. So she leaves to go catch a plane. She does indeed have business to handle. It's the same business that Dexter wanted to get into with her and split 50-50, but she wasn't having it. Now, because she has left, she is unaware that her secretary has left even more. Well, she knows. He handed her the envelope, and it has the Santar, whatever it's called, deal that is in Canada. It has that stamped on the front of the envelope. She leaves it on her desk as Dex is going to prepare himself a beverage. He knocks it over, puts two and two together. So he gets on the first thing smoking, and he gets on up to Canada. Now, his jet must be better than hers. Or she was delayed because she had to stop and talk trash to Krystal and Blake. Now, I don't even want to talk about them anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Apparently, Krystal has phenomenal veins that pop out of her neck when she gets excited because all of a sudden she's a seasoned PR professional with like 10 seconds worth of training. And Blake's like, oh, don't do anything about that vein. I love that vein. I was like, you would like that vein, you dried up vampire, day walking freak. You can tell he smells like Campbell's soup and menthols. I don't dislike Blake, but I'm just like, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear you. Don't try to seduce anybody. I'll give it to him. I will say this. He is an attractive man. But please don't be smooth. Because every time he starts talking, it's like a 45-minute speech about, don't you remember the first time I saw you and I bought this card for you and you smelled that bubble gum and you thought it was amazing? I never forgot anything. Oh, Blake, like Krystal, you were so cheap. Get it together. How you going to leave this man 47 times? And all he's got to tell you about is bubble gum and the scent in a vein that pops out of your... Girl, shut up. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh. Of course, Alexis. Alexis is stunting all episode long. She is dressed to kill. Steven is right. You should probably listen to her, Claudia, about putting on clothes. But she arrives at the airport in just such a rub it in your face way. It is such a flex to be able to drive like a British car in the US. Not because they look better or anything, but it's such a flex to be able to sit in our passenger side and drive people around. I have that invasive thought quite a bit when I'm in the passenger side. Like if my husband's driving and I'm sitting in the passenger side, I'm like, how hard would it be to drive on this side of the car? Would I forget? I feel like I'd forget, but maybe you'd probably get used to it pretty quickly. Anyway, Alexis hops out of her Rolls Royce and Krystal and Blake are exiting their PJ. And she's like, oh my God, hi guys. I saw that whack article you wrote, Krystal. You suck. I wish I had a copy. I'd make you sign it. And Blake and Krystal are all like, ha, yeah, everybody knows that our company is better than yours. And she's like, please, you wish. The weird thing though, I'm distracted because I'm not keen on watching the Blake and Krystal exchanges. But Alexis was in the scene, so I paid attention. But Alexis tells her driver, who hops out of the American passenger side because it's a British car. You know what I'm saying? He hops out on that side. And she goes, take these papers back to the office. And instead of getting into the car, he just starts walking. And I'm like, sir, you need to move that car A so the planes can leave. And you're gonna walk back to the office? Never mind that. Doesn't matter if he walked or not because she got into her personal plane and she flies up to Canada. It's clearly dark. She gets to the office of Tanmar, whatever it's called. The secretary's like, oh yeah, Mr. So-and-so's waiting for you. So when she opens the door, mind you, she's changed on the plane. It's like her fourth outfit of the day. When she opens the door, tell me why Dexter has his booted Montana feet on this man's desk. And he's flipping through these files. She's like, Dex, what the hell? What are you doing here? He just bought the company. He's like, I'm going to do you a favor because you're so fine. Why don't we split this 60-40? Me being 60, you being 40. She chuckles. She's like, boy, please. I would never take the lesser percentage. I better take the sales price because in the next 5 minutes, the price is going to change. And she cackles. She says, sir, I don't buy anything on sale. I felt poverty seeping through my veins. Like, wow. Not poverty, I suppose. It's just, I need to count my checks. I need to count my coin. I need to know exactly how much I have. Man. But she's rich. So she tells him, you go get some papers drawn up. I'll be back tomorrow and we'll talk about it. She shows up the next day in an electric blue silk jumpsuit. I thought it was satin, but anyone who doesn't buy anything on sale, I bet you don't wear false materials either. She's in this silk cobalt blue get up. Dex is all hot and bothered. They sign the papers. She kisses him and then she refuses to sleep with him because she says, quote, I'll never let a man take me to bed and the cleaners the same day. That's a semi-quote. Rearrange, whatever. She says all the words, just maybe not in that order. I love this. I love the tension between she and Dexter. He is really believable as somebody who wants her. And he also seems a little bit ruthless. So I'm excited to see what this new edition does for Colby Co. and what that means with her going head to head with Blake. He and Krystal, last time I'm talking about this, he and Krystal have this stupid scene. It's absolutely ridiculous. So they get home to the mansion. And Krystal is, of course, head to toe cream. And he's like, do you hear that? She's like, no, I don't hear anything. Exactly. I let the staff go. All 9,000 of the staff members are gone. I just wanted to spend time with this cute little chef who had like this regional cuisine. She knew how to make it. Basically, he kicked everybody out and made sure that they left the ingredients for one of Krystal's whack omelets. I already know it tastes like ketchup. But she goes into the kitchen. She whips him up this omelet, even though they walked inside the house talking about how fun the movie was. The popcorn was good. Then they go upstairs and have like a sleazy Cinemax. Everybody's got on 3 robes. They're sitting on the floor. And I'm like, Blake, you know you can't get up. Let me just stop. I don't know why I'm so irritated by that today. I think it is the seduction of Krystal Carrington. I forget what her fake name, Krystal Carrington. Her seduction level is so very low. In order to win her back, he puts her in position to serve him. So you can serve as my PR person, which means you're going to be cleaning up after me when I make a complete and total fool of myself. Not if, but when I make a complete and total fool of myself. Oh, also, why don't you come home and cook for me? It'll be so much fun. And she's like, oh my gosh, oh Blake, you remember Krystal? Are you crazy? Where is Samantha Josephine? I need Sammy Joe to come in and just tap her on the shoulder and be like, hey, we don't do that. We don't do that in Ohio. You're going to have to make this man earn this. You didn't even get a prenup yet, you fool. She walking around. Anyway, that's that on that. We got to get to the main event. At the top of this episode, we find Kirby still running throughout the house. She had just told Jeff that she'd been raped by Adam and that it was this horrible thing. She took off running and he's always about 3 or 4 steps behind her in penny loafers, mind you. So he catches her downstairs and she darts back upstairs because she forgot her prenatal vitamins, I'm assuming, or some prescriptions. So she puts them in her clutch. He comes into the room and he has questions. In all fairness, why not? This is where Jeff is coming from. She just revealed to him that she had been raped by Adam, which is why she's 5 months pregnant and not 2 months pregnant. Now, Jeff is thinking back on this, like, he feels set up. He feels like, wait a minute, I saw you in a hotel. Why did you, if somebody did this to you, why would you be in a hotel room with him? Why were you spending so much time with Adam? Did you want me to see something? He feels like he's been set up. And she's like, no. Let me tell you what happened. I saw the way you were looking at Fallon all up and through the house. I've had this huge crush on you. It was pretty abundantly clear to me that you were never going to look at me that way. And, I wanted to feel like a woman. He asked, Adam showed interest. I did not know he was a rapey, off the meds weirdo at the time. So I went on a date with him. Then he did what he did. Then he apologized and he tricked me because I speak Francais. Parlez-vous Francais? And he wanted me to interpret some things, but then he was just tricking again. And Jeff's like, okay, all right. All right. I believe you. So he turns on his heels and he decides to go find Adam. He wants to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Now, him and Adam already don't get along with each other. So this can only end up one way. I was totally surprised, but hey, I expected there to be a little bit of pushing and shoving in an office, not at a work site. So Jeff shows up to the work site. He waits for the workers to get off this very, very questionable elevator. And he takes it all the way up to the top floor because one of the workers is like, yeah, I saw Adam up there. When he gets there, he's like, Adam, you raped her. Adam's like, did I? You wish. So they face each other. They're rich boys. Rich boys are probably not going to swing at each other. That's what I'm thinking Adam's thinking. Because he mouths off. Next thing you know, Jeff hauls off and punches him right in the face. Adam makes that face you make. If you ever hit somebody in the face with a dodgeball and they kind of, their face kind of scrunches up, Adam does that. And he falls back into a pile of dirt. He's like, if you think that was for honor, there's none left. Mind you, that's what he says to Jeff. If that punch was for honor, you're too late. Which causes Jeff to leap on him and they start punching each other. So Jeff has shown up to make sure that he can defend Kirby and just go ahead and go off on this kid. Adam, all of a sudden, is like, she gave it to me, blah, blah, blah. But then when he gets up, when he starts getting the upper hand, he jumps up, kicks Jeff in the rib, and Jeff's like, oh my God, my spleen. Adam puts his penny loafers on Jeff's throat and says, and she's too good to be your second choice. So at this point, the emotions are coming out. He really does feel for Kirby, but he's crazy and he's already attacked her. So they're punching and swinging. Jeff gets him in a headlock. He's like, was it like this? Okay, now I'm saying they're fighting, but one of these boys went to private school. I did not expect Jeff to have hands at all. I'm a little disappointed in Billings, Montana, Adam, because I'm like, you should have been lifting barrels of hay your whole life. What is your problem? Adam clearly was a bookish kid. So anyways, hoo, ha, slap this, choke him out, penny loafer, scrape this, penny loafer, jump and attack, they're bursting through sheetrock, all this on the top floor. Think of a parking garage with no edges. They're closing in this building. They have not gotten that far. There's nothing but a wisp of wire that is surrounding this in this sort of like a makeshift gate. Finally, Jeff gets the drop on him, whooping him down, right? And they get real close to the edge. Now, the stunt doubles are stunt doubling. I thought one of them was black for a second. I was like, y'all don't even care who you put in this show. So they start fighting. They get close to the edge, and Jeff wants to heave-ho Adam off the side of the building. So he has to grab him between the crotch and like pushes him. He scooches him. And Adam is like, no. Gets to the edge. He's dangling his head off, and Jeff is just super pissed. It's like, let go. You're going to die. Choking him out. And he says, I hope your baby's going to be okay once she finds out that her dad's a weirdo rapist. In so many words. I can't remember the exact dialogue. Adam snaps at him. He's like, what? I didn't know. Jeff, I didn't know. Jeff lets him go. Starts walking back downstairs. And I'm like, okay, you didn't know. You didn't know what? You didn't know that was your baby. Okay. Fair. You have Adam, in all fairness, I can play devil's advocate. You have the right to absorb this information. This is a lot of information to take in on a day like this, especially when you were being Suge Knighted a la Vanilla Ice over the side of a building. You got a lot to think about. But he can't shake it. I didn't know. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really an apology. You didn't know, so now what? Okay. Jeff goes to, you guessed it, La Mirage to cool off, where he and Claudia the Stallion comes up to him. And he's like, I tried to take a walk, Claudia, but everywhere I went, I hit a brick wall. There's just, I've just got a lot on my mind. And she's looking at him with that look in her eyes. He's like, have you ever been that high or that low? And I was thinking, yeah, she's definitely been that high because she was on top of a building. She threw a doll off. You were about to throw a man off. So she totally knows where you're coming from. And she has that look in her eye like she's saying, dude, listen to me. 2 words. Temporary insanity. Just do what you got to do and then be like, oh my God, I blacked out. No. She doesn't tell him that. She says in not so many words, you need to talk this through. It doesn't seem like you ever really talk anything through with anybody. Figure out what you want, talk it through with Kirby, and then let bygones be bygones, let the chips fall where they may. So he goes home, and the home is empty. Kirby has gone, and he sees a little note that she scribbled. So he picks up the telephone, and he calls the airport because she wrote down some like flight numbers. And he asks about the flight, and they're like, yeah, it leaves in an hour. He looks at his watch. But while he's doing all that, I'm looking at the background. On Jeff's side of the bed, Jeff is so into himself. Guess who he has in a frame next to his bed so that when he rolls over, first person he sees is himself. Oh my. He's a conceited one, this one. But nobody, and I do mean nobody, puts as many miles on a pair of penny loafers as Jeffrey Lee Colby. Jeffrey Lee Colby runs to his Mercedes and he runs to the airport. He is late. Ticket guy's like, dang, yeah, man, you just missed it. But we have another flight in about 12 hours. Jeff's like, whatever, I'll borrow Blake's plane. But he turns around and he sees an exhausted, pregnant Kirby resting peacefully. Long story long, they decide they're not going to be together. It was never really meant to be. She's like, the first time you kissed me, you called me Kirby. You called me Fallon. I should have known something was up from the beginning. But you know what he doesn't do? He does not tell her that he did indeed sleep with Fallon when he was in Montana. He's still keeping that to himself and letting her, he's gaslighting her with her suspicions. They decide to go home and she says she's just going to stick around long enough to get a divorce. He offers to be her baby daddy. He's like, listen, and the baby's going to need a name. I don't mind it being another Colby. Like, I'm not tripping. She's like, no, my name's good enough. And then I was thinking, well, that baby is still at Carrington. So if nothing else, you need to stick around, have the baby get a piece of one of these companies, actually both companies, because that's Alexis's grandson or granddaughter as well. Go ahead and get this kid set up, then fly off, do what you need to do. But when they get home, I had all but forgotten again that Adam also lives at the mansion. So he's sitting on the steps with his face freshly punched in, his ego bruised, and the realization that he is now a baby daddy. And he's like, Kirby, please talk to me. I didn't know. So I started thinking, like, did he mean he didn't know that he knocked her up when he raped her? Like, what exactly do you want here, sir? I'm very confused. He didn't do anything to her after she was pregnant. So, like, what is your point exactly? I guess we'll have to wait and see on episode 11. All right, guys, that's it. That's all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Looks like we're clearing our plate for some brand new drama. We're going to see how Fallon shapes up with the DeVille dude. See if Kirby sticks around or if she's going to suddenly be like, I'm sure she's going to go into labor at some point. I think she's already 5 or 6 months. How are they going to explain this to the rest of the family? That's the big question right there for me. I guess we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, the next time you're on your way to a scuffle, reach in the back of your closet and get a fresh pair of penny loafers. You will slide right into a victory. Fairly close, your enemies closer, and your remote closest. Stay moisturized, hydrated, mind your business, and keep all of your drama